Forgive the storm in the background, but boy, do I love it. So hopefully you enjoy the sound of the rain and the thunder and the lightning. There's something that keeps coming up. It's like people put fear into the masses. But, oh boy. You hear me talk about this a lot, and this is why I don't watch the news. But there is always that fine line, right? Like, let's use COVID as an example. I didn't watch the news. I was so out of touch with any of that world. And once I had gone down to my shore home, because school let out early, the whole thing, I had a home in a community that was very, everybody did keep their distance. There was hardly anybody that even lived there. So it's not like you ever really saw anybody. And if you did, you were more than 6 feet away from everybody. So nothing, I didn't know any of those rules. I didn't know anything. And it wasn't until, I don't know if it was when I came back to the city or friends had let me know. But the point is, it wasn't until I came in contact with other people or it was the talk that I picked up on that I was aware of it. So the point being, like, it's important to know some things, to follow social cues and what is required. And yet, in other words, I like that we're all respectful of one another, right? Like, this was the protocol. Everybody stays 6 feet away. So it's like I'm not burying my head in the sand and that I'm dismissive. I think it's important that we're not, treat others how you want to be treated, right? And so these are the rules. I'm not looking to harm anybody or make waves or cause issues. And so that's what I mean by the fine line, where it's like, I think I'm a believer that I don't know about a lot of things that are going on in the news for various reasons, and find that it's much healthier for me mentally, and knowing that if there is anything going on that is directly impacting me, or I need to be aware of, you usually pick it up. Directly or indirectly, you start to hear the whispers. You start to hear it, feel it, see it. So that all said, when I was listening to this conversation, I think it was a podcast, and there was a whole discussion around it, and he wasn't attempting to fear anybody. I actually very much like this gentleman, very, very much enjoyed the conversation, and felt that he was very informative. And I thought, partly it's because I agree with him, right? So of course I like him, right? Like, I liked what he had to say. I liked that he, what I gathered from the small clip, which is all I know of this man. Otherwise, I'd never had heard of him, and I couldn't tell you his name if you asked me right now. But I very much enjoyed him. And but what I gathered is he's probably an atheist, right? But that still doesn't dismiss anything I'm saying. As far as I'm concerned, he just uses the language of probably the greatest, meaning if we reference what I'm referencing, maybe that's what he would say, right? He probably wouldn't likely say the highest vibration. He wouldn't say, maybe he would say the universe, or maybe he would say nature. That's what I think. But his definition and understanding and concept of it, I think, is slightly different than mine, where he contributes a large majority of his money, and he has a tremendous amount, to nature and to technology that is eco-friendly. And this theme, right, this idea. So I very much like the gentleman, because as far as I'm concerned, he just uses a different language than me. But he's respectful and encouraging of honoring nature, recognizing that is our mirror, that is our future, that is our reality, that is our life, that is our lifeline. And so respecting that and encouraging that and putting money towards that, I think, is beautiful. And as far as I'm concerned, he might as well say he's giving money to God, because that boils down to the same thing. He just would say it differently, and if I said that to him, he probably would be horrified, because most people who speak one language are closed-minded to speaking another language or understanding that it's the same definition, it's the same understanding. And this is where kerfuffle and people get ruffled unnecessarily. And nonetheless, he seems like a brilliant man. And again, of course, because I liked what he had to say, right? That's what our ego does, right? Like, well, I agree with you, so you must be smart, right? And I like how you're doing that, right? So we're just stroking our own ego. So you got to be careful with that. And yet he was also still very much forewarning about a lot of things. And again, it's like the yes and the no. It's like, really, I feel like a lot of times that is done for the masses versus for the far and few, that if they listened and tuned in, it probably would benefit the masses. But it ends up adding fear into the masses, which can sway and change the outcome of many, many things. Because if you can get the masses on your side, then you can make movement. And that's in every arena, but especially like in stock markets and things like that. It's like all those little fine dollars add up if they're the majority. Now the majority is usually held by the minority, and so they're the ones controlling the swaying based on the sales pitch of the time, if they can convince you, if they can sway you, if they can steer you, if they can lead you, if you are being controlled in any which way. A lot of that dictates which way it goes. So it's not as, it's throwing a dart into the wind for the majority of us, because we're not of those 7 people that are doing that. So you have no idea what's going on behind those closed doors to be able to decide on your own. And nonetheless, I found the whole thing interesting, and I'm still conversing with them regarding it, because it is the question of what is his stake in the game, right? Because that is what it boils down to. And he may not even realize it, right? Like it's his ego wanting him to be the good guy, to do the forewarning, to advise, to show his history of advising, right? And again, I definitely do not think there's malicious intent in this man for what he is sharing. Quite the opposite. Nonetheless, you do need to ask those questions. If you're even going to listen to the advice. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope you do. Because there's oftentimes there are people that will stroke your ego, get you on board. That's the best sales pitch there is. They're your friend. They're on your team. They agree with you. They're telling you they got to be a good guy. They got to be forewarning you. They'll do anything and everything. Get you on their team, follow their advice. You get enough people to do that. Damn if you can't take people down and rise people up. And if you knew the whole story, you might have chose to do neither or the opposite. But this is what's happening 24/7. People are listening to those outside themselves, if it's stroking their ego or not. Oftentimes it determines which way they're going to be swayed. And this is what we talk about, the inability to be independent thinkers. Oftentimes people don't think they're not, right? Like they think they are independent thinkers. They think they are deciding on their own. They think it is in their best interest. But no, it's stroking your ego, and it's to get. You didn't decide that on your own. You decided that based on those other factors. Oh boy, does it matter? I don't know. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.